We're gonna make some croutons next using a bunch of leftover bread. So this is a great way of using up your leftover bread, either that you just have leftover in the freezer that you put there for a bit, or at the end of a meal and you know that the next day it's really not gonna be that great anymore. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna make we're gonna infuse some oil with garlic. So we're gonna use 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You could also use butter for this if that's your preference. So we'll do 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and 3, oh, that was almost perfect, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, just in the pot. And then we're gonna use a clove of garlic. So just taking off the outside paper. And then you're gonna put it down, put the flat of your knife on it, give it a whack, because it'll give it a nice little smash, and put it into your oil. Then we're gonna put it back onto the stove, just over medium heat. Okay. And then we're gonna let that simmer for about 4 or 5 minutes, just until the garlic is starting to brown a little bit, but not so much that it burns. You don't wanna let it burn at all. And then while it's doing that, we're gonna cut up our bread. So we have some leftover buns here that we're gonna use. And we're gonna cut these into cubes. So you want them to be about the same-ish for size. But think like crouton size. So if you want bigger croutons, you can make them bigger. If you want smaller croutons, you can make them smaller. And we're gonna get about 2 or 3 cups worth of bread chunks. Okay. And you want them to be as close to the same size as possible so that they cook evenly. Let's see where we're at. So that's actually 3 cups there. So that was just actually 1 bun. So you don't need a lot of bread. You don't need like a half of a loaf or anything. You can, if you have a lot left over, you could do this as a really big batch and just double or triple it. But for today, this is all we're gonna need. So we're gonna put that into the bowl, okay? And we're gonna put half of a teaspoon of salt in here. This is just sea salt, but again, whatever salt you have is fine. So it's half a teaspoon of salt. It's gonna go in with the breadcrumbs. And then let's just check on our oil here. And it's looking pretty good. You can see that it's starting to sizzle a little bit. Good. And then while that's just cooking, I'm just gonna get another tray. This one's a bit big, but any just baking sheet that you have at home would be great. You could line it if you wanted to for easy cleanup, but you don't really need to for this one, okay? Oh, you can hear it starting to sizzle. And so as it's cooking, all it's really doing is taking that nice garlic flavor and putting it into the oil so that we're not actually using the garlic itself. We're just going to use the oil for our croutons. Perfect. Okay, so we'll turn off the stove. And then we're going to take our garlic and just put it off to the side. You could save that and add it to soup if you wanted to. On top of potatoes. Getting all those little bits out. Okay. Good. And then we're going to take our bread and we're just going to pour the oil on top and give it a stir. So the bread's going to suck up that oil, which is what you want. That's what's going to help give it a nice crispy texture. Good. And you could add other things. You could add some herbs to this if you wanted to as well, or some black pepper. But for today, we're just doing salt and garlic. And then we're going to put this onto the tray and just make sure it's in a single layer so that, again, it's going to cook fairly evenly. Good. And then this is going to go into the oven. So you're going to put your oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to put this in the oven for about 15 minutes. I would check it every 5 minutes just to see how it's doing and give it a little turn just so that it's going to brown evenly. So we'll stick it back in the oven here. And at the end of it, so at the end, what you end up with is these really nice croutons. Again, these are ones that I made the other day that are super crunchy, really nice. They're perfectly golden, and you can add them to all of your salads or anything else that you want to put your croutons on. It's a great way of using up your leftover bread.